Welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. When you're ready to transform your sales for today's transforming market, we've got you covered. With your host, the queen of cold calling and founder of Salesology, award-winning author, speaker, sales trainer, and coach, Wendy Weiss.
Hi, welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. And I'm your host, Wendy Weiss. I am the founder of Salesology, creator of the Salesology prospecting method, and I'm also known as the queen of cold calling. Well, today, my very special guest is Matthew Freed. He is the regional sales manager at Millcraft, and he has spent the last 20 years in sales and sales leadership, and Matt still finds it to be incredibly rewarding. Most of the time has been in manufacturing and distribution, and he's led some high-performing teams and been able to work very closely with customers. He currently leads a team across the Midwest, and he's passionate about building lasting culture, driving results, and simplifying the complicated. I'm going to have to ask Matt about that. And a big part of Matt's leadership style is helping sellers achieve their goals while supporting them in becoming the best versions of themselves. So welcome, Matt.
Thanks, Wendy. Appreciate you having me.
Well, I'm very happy that you are here, and a lot to dive into, but let's begin at the beginning. How did you get into sales? How'd you end up at Millcraft? Tell us your story.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So it's great to be here. And, out of college, back up before that. So my dad was in sales majority of his career, kind of got off the road into an ownership role and kind of running his own business. And then, but really always had a knack for sales. And so that was something that I'd always grown up in. Went to school and then graduated college. I was really in a kind of an individual contributor role. Pounding the pavement, making a lot of cold calls, getting the door slammed on me and learning what sales was really all about versus what I had always thought it was. But then I kind of realized, what was the next step? And I'd always been on teams. Generally, a lot of those teams I was on, whether it be athletically, within school or, volunteer, I felt like I was always in some type of leadership role, because I thought that was just something, it always kind of attracted me to doing it. And no different than in sales, I felt like going into sales management was something that was what I wanted to do, was be a part of a team. And when I worked on something, I wanted the team to achieve it, not just myself. So I kind of pursued that a little bit and reached out to some allies and contacts and some networking, and was fortunate. Someone kind of took a little bit of a risk with me, give me an opportunity to lead a team. I had to move cities, work for a manufacturing company that was, out of the Midwest, but just got a great opportunity to, get a start with sales management, managed a nice sales team. And then over time, moved around a little bit, growing that team, that responsibility, the customer base, the revenue base. And then I had actually, one of my contacts, when I had moved, up into Michigan where I am now, was a supplier, it still is today, to Millcraft. Him and I were just catching up and talking, and he had said, I know them and I know you, and I feel like that would be a great combination. And so Millcraft and I got introduced a little over 8 years ago, and we talked, and it's all worked out, and been able to continue to pursue what I enjoy and work for a great organization at the same time.
Okay, well, that's very cool, and I know you're fairly new in the position that you have right now, correct?
A little bit, yeah. So I've had some responsibilities across a few different states, kind of leading different business units, which is how we break things up. And then recently, just getting more, back into managing directly on the sales side. So stepping away from some of the operational side of the business, but getting back much more customer facing, working with the sales team and the sellers. So it's been fun. It was really where I've felt like my passion always was. I learned a tremendous amount, operationally, and it helps us, become better sellers. But, now it's having, back in front of customers and spending more time doing that.
Okay. So I have to ask you because as I was doing your introduction and I was reading your bio that you so graciously supplied me with, and it says that you're passionate about simplifying the complicated. And I thought that was really interesting because so many things are so very complicated. And a lot of the selling process, I think, can be more complicated than it needs to be. So, can you share your thoughts on simplifying the complicated and maybe give us some examples of how you were able to do that? Because sometimes there's so much dreck that gets in the way.
Yeah, no, there's no question, especially today, in today's day and age. So it's a good question, and part of the reason I always think of my sales team, those are my customers, right? So what do you do when you talk to customers, and it's you try to solve problems in the sales process, and so trying to solve those problems for our sales team to make them become better sellers. And one of the things when I realized, I like to read, I like history, and doing so. I always, there's a lot of old adages, but I always go back. There's so many things that I feel like are the same principle of just kind of know, like, and trust, and no matter what you read, if you go back into, old sales books and they tell you about things and you start to realize, oh, it's, make sure you're in front of your customer, make sure you follow up. And, you read things today in today's day and age. And what are they saying? Well, a lot of times they're saying the same thing. And as much as everything has changed, so much has stayed the same. And so when you really break that down, there's some different variables, there's different economic conditions, there's, different technologies, there's different rates of speed and change and all that kind of stuff. But, if you really break it down, a lot of times our process is, getting to know something, like something, and trust something. And if we can build that and get there, then, I think we have a great platform. We just had it today. We had a great, you asked for a couple of examples. Information is really powerful. Today's day and age, we use a ton of data and analytics. Really helps us make good decisions based on some information that we have. Helps steer a conversation. So as much as we feel something, sometimes the facts might tell us something different. And if we can keep those things separate, use them both as good data points. Sometimes our feelings can be true, but so can the math and the data behind it. And if we combine those and kind of make a good decision for both the customer and for the organization, I think, you have a winning strategy. And, just kind of breaking it down and simplifying the process and avoiding some of that noise and whatnot can be very helpful. And that's, what I look at it, that's my responsibility for my sales team is where are they spending their time? What's bogging them down? How do I make them the most effective possible so they can achieve their goals? And how do we, help win our, for our customers too? And so that's, where I really try and focus things.
So, piggybacking on what you just said, or one of the things you just mentioned, one of the questions that I asked you in preparing for this interview is what drives you crazy about managing a sales team? And your answer was, I'm just going to read it. If there's one thing that consistently challenges sales teams, it's getting caught up in things they can't control and struggling to separate facts from feelings. Sales is a roller coaster, balancing customer expectations, company expectations, their own personal expectations can be overwhelming. And my role is to keep the team grounded, focus on what they can control, and equip them to ride the highs and lows with clarity and consistency. And, when I read that, I did a coaching call this morning with a new group that I'm coaching. And one of the participants in the group had a conversation with a prospect. It was a very short conversation. But he had this really long story about what this complete stranger was thinking and feeling and how they were going to behave based on absolutely nothing. He was making it up. He talked to the person for, I don't know, a minute and a half, you know? And so I'd like to hear your take on that. How do you keep salespeople grounded in the facts as opposed to the story that they might be telling themselves about the facts?
Yeah. So, so I wouldn't say that I'm perfect at it by any means. I just, do my best and try to keep that goal in mind. But, and experience helps. I would say I typically try to seek first to understand, as the old saying goes, right? Seek first to understand before understood. So first, I always ask the question. They probably, so help me understand. And so I can really unpack and feel like what really happened and start to ask more and more questions because I think that helps guide what is really going on. And then if it's a high pressure or high sensitive or highly emotional scenario, typically I would, have a feeling. I try to sleep on that feeling. And if I wake up with that same feeling the next day, then that's what I go with. And then, I have my decision based on that. And if it's a big decision, then I might sleep on it for 3 days in a row. And if you wake up with the same feeling 3 days in a row, then it's the right feeling. But so that's really a lot of times I just go on a fact finding mission, really help me understand and then take that information, see if I can create my own, set of data or information and apply it and come back to the, rep and see if what's true versus what's feeling, to help us get to where we want to go.
Okay, so you're taking the information that you got from that route and getting more data about it. Is that my understanding?
I try to. Yeah,
Yeah.
most definitely. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. I often ask them, what did the prospect actually say? Because lots of times that's like the jumping off point. They say something and then there's a whole story that the rep makes up about whatever it was they actually just said.
Right.
Yep.
That's right.
And okay, so continuing on this this conversation about simplifying, because I also asked you about some wins that you and your sales team have had in the past year. And one of the things you told me was implementation of a new ERP platform. And I actually, it was funny. I know the term ERP, I've used it for years. I had to Google it to make sure that I knew what it actually meant. And so for our audience who might not know, ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. It's a software system that integrates and automates core business processes. And I assume that included a CRM. Is that a good assumption? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
How'd you get them to use it?
So it's an evolution too. But the reality, a couple of different ways. And I think honestly, our sellers, we're really fortunate. We've got people that have been doing it a really long time, and we have 104 years as a history as an organization. And so, with that gives us people that have been doing it a long time. And then we've also got some new sellers. And so kind of, putting that together and putting what information in there is relevant, for our sales team. And it's not perfect by, from the stuff we get from our sales team is we know what goes in, what the good in is only going to be the good out. But by really having it tailored towards their business and towards their customers is how we've tried to do it. And then some of it's just you got to earn the right in the field and with the customers. And when we listen to our customers and put ourselves in our customers' shoes, what is it that they're telling us? Are they telling us they want an omni-channel experience? Are they telling us, they want to be able to see their buying patterns and they want us to be able to, manage supply chain a certain way? And for us to do that, there's really only one way. And like any sales team and salespeople are always passionate about their customers. And if that's what their customers are looking for, that's always I feel like that will always take a lot of times their passion and they'll put that information into the system because they know it'll ultimately benefit their customer. So it's really making sure our system is beneficial, not always to us internally, but it's got to be beneficial to our customer base.
This is really interesting to me because what I think I'm hearing from you is you've got 12 salespeople on your team,
I
correct?
do. Yep.
And they are using the CRM more or less the way you want them to be using it.
For the most part.
I have never heard that from anybody before. So virtual gold star for you, Matt Freed.
Yeah, for the most part. We got work to do. We could always be better, but
Uh-huh.
it's a work in progress, and honestly, it's a credit to them. Not that gold star goes to them, not to me. I just give them the tools and the steps and a little bit of pestering here and there, and they're the ones that do it, and they do it on behalf of their customers to make sure that it's the stuff we need to be good. And we don't want to be good; we want to be great. So it's critical for us to do that.
Yeah, it is really critical. I hear from a lot of clients, people that I interview, just how difficult it is to get the salespeople to just put information into a CRM.
Yeah, there's no question. And we have people with very different, we have people with very large books of business, and there's people that, they're just getting started. I think both are incredibly valuable in a CRM system, to help someone's career evolve and come together and see their activity. And for someone who has a large book of business, it presents them an opportunity to, help that customer maybe manage and work with them differently than they had in the past. And both are successful. And neither should be, not neither one is more important than the other, and especially in the system. And what we've seen is a lot of times it's the newer employees that have come on board that have really championed the CRM, and they've had some success, or they've, worked with clients and been able to, grow their account base and how, and you find yourselves, our salespeople, like many, incredibly competitive. They find themselves competing with their peer. So they want to get their get what's needed in their information and make sure that they're competing as well. Not just, with our 12 team, but all of our, 75 sellers across our organization.
Okay. So you said you have 12 salespeople on your team. Some of them are new and some of them have been around for a really long time.
Oh yeah. Over
Yeah.
40 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so your newbies, how new are they? A year or two? You came into an existing team.
I did, yeah. Some of them I brought with me, and kind of that I'd hired before in previous role. But yeah, we've got people that are under 2 years within the organization. Some of the newbies that are with us, and then we've got some people sprinkled in the middle, and then some wonderful tenure that are north of 30 years, and some that are north of 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So are you hiring?
We are. Yeah, absolutely. Always looking to grow, looking to add to the team. We know what's in front of us. We've got, I think people have used the term silver tsunami, that is approaching, where people have the opportunity to retire if they, do choose. But yeah, we are hiring as an organization, but I specifically am as well, trying to add to the team and grow our team as it is.
Okay, so when you're hiring, what are you looking for? I mean, are you looking for someone that's seasoned that's going to come to the organization with a book of business? Are you looking for somebody that's really brand new and you're going to teach them everything from zero? Like and how do you go about looking? Because when I hear how hard it is to hire, I hear it over and over
Mhm.
again. So um, I'm wondering what your experience is and how you go about hiring.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's one of my favorite questions. I get it all the time, partly because I'm always asking people if they know good people. So I think referrals are always the best. And so that's number one. They always ask me, what am I looking for? I would tell you my number one trait, resourcefulness. I need someone that's resourceful. And if they're resourceful, I believe that overcomes a lot of objectives. I want them to be a competitor. So want to win, want to compete, a little bit of entrepreneurship. So being able to wake up every day, go to work and not necessarily be told what to do every day. And in a sales environment, to me, that's critical. as the team grows, we're not going to have time we don't come to the office every day, stack hands, and then go our separate ways. So they got to be entrepreneurial and be able to run their own business and their book of business. So those three things are really, really important. I think from a skill standpoint, that really doesn't go back into knowledge or, their type of degree. I think if you can have some of those things, being intuitive and inquisitive, it's really soft skills versus, hard skills like a book of business or from a specific industry. To me, if you can come in and you can be resourceful, you want to compete, you want to be able to ask questions and you have that entrepreneurial spirit to be able to help your customers and help your own business and help the organizational grow, then I think the sky's the limit for somebody.
So how do you screen for those things? How do you screen for whether or not somebody is resourceful? They're competitive. I mean, maybe if they played, you know, college sports,
Yeah.
but resourceful, entrepreneurial. How do you screen for that?
Yeah, and not easy, and it's something you gotta, we put some breadcrumbs out there. So maybe it's an assignment leading into the interview. Maybe there's some leading questions, what do they know so far about the organization before they come into the interview? And depending on the depth of how they answer will tell you how much research they've done. So a lot of times you'd be, stunned at, they start to grab a few buzzwords that were off our website, right? Versus the other person who dove all the way deep and they know how long we've been in business and who our owner is and, how many times it's changed hands and the mergers and acquisitions that's taken place. Like that's someone that went, all that would tell me is you went the extra mile, you want this opportunity and you'll do the same out in the field, because no one told them to go do it. From a competitive standpoint, yeah, we certainly look at sports as an opportunity, whether it's team sports or an individual sport. That's always jumps out to me on a resume just because it took discipline. You probably lost, which happens all the time. Hopefully you had some wins in there, but you can handle both and how you accomplished it based on what it shows. So yeah, we look for it there. And just, yeah, really just learning from their experiences and what they've been able to draw from. And again, I mentioned, referrals a lot of times are where we've had our most success. And so a lot of times it's our network. Everybody's got a great network. They know somebody or someone knows someone. And a lot of times you get some extra buy-in from those people because they're entrusting this person with you. And they're hopefully telling this person that Matt's a good person to go to work for. And if you can put those two things together, you might have a winning combination there. The other thing I would tell you, and why I get really passionate about it is I also think it's my responsibility to draw those things out as well. So I always look for people and I tell them I'm very transparent, I'm very open, I'm very honest. What I expect from somebody from the time they start with us, and I also tell them what they should expect from me. And as long as those two things match and they're good with what they can expect from me and they agree that, what I expect from them is realistic and obtainable, then I think you've got an opportunity to have a great person and hopefully a good contributor to an organization.
Okay. So I want to switch gears a little bit, because also one of the things that you told me when I asked you about wins that you and your sales team had in the past year, you said you opened up over 150 accounts. So how did you do that? That's a
Yeah.
pretty 150. That's a pretty impressive. Um, I mean, I'm assuming you said you used the word open, so I'm
Mhm.
assuming they're new.
Yeah, they are new. Yeah, they've never done business with us. So that counts as a new account, if you will.
Hmm.
That's how we classify it, which is great. So we break things down into segments. A lot of the time, our sellers are really good in a couple of their key segments. So as a distribution company, you get the opportunity for a ton of different products to have on your shelf. We try and stay true and core to who we are, but we are a very diversified portfolio. And we have people that call in the beverage segment, and so they specifically target those accounts. And we have people that, they are focused on, sign and apparel opportunities within our market. So they kind of stay in that lane, especially when it goes to opening accounts. And a lot of times, that pitch and that routine, and you may be, better equipped to answer this than I, but we always try to remind ourselves is what I'd love to do if I open one in a particular segment. I want to open 100 doing one thing because they buy the same things or they act the same way or they this, versus selling 100 different things, 100 different companies, one thing. So I want to make sure I have 100 doing the same thing over and over and over again, because if I'm a nonprofit organization and these are the 5 items I buy, I should feel very confident when I walk in that door that says, look, we already do business with 500 nonprofits within this region. Here's the 5 things they buy. I assume you're buying these. Is this correct? And a lot of times the answer is yes, because they're doing the same things. It's, they're mailing things out or they're printing things on a certain sheet of paper or whatever it might be. So you just do the same thing over and over again versus trying to reinvent it, each time you walk in a different door.
100%. I am with you 200, 300%. Absolutely. Why reinvent the wheel? But it's kind of crazy how many salespeople want to do that. But that's another podcast interview, I guess.
No question. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, so people want to get in touch with you.
Mhm.
Where can they find you?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. Best place is always LinkedIn. It's probably the best way. You can just search me on there, Matt Freed, Millcraft, and then through our website as well. We're pretty open as an organization, so millcraft.com is another place you can find me and reach out. Always happy to connect. Anybody that has ideas. If a way for me to get better, I want to certainly be better tomorrow than I am today. So. I don't know if I always have all the answers, but happy to discuss and go in further detail, but also happy to learn from other people as well and connect.
Absolutely. And if you want to connect with Matt, the link to Matt's LinkedIn profile, which, spirit of full disclosure, I met Matt on LinkedIn. But if you want to connect with Matt on LinkedIn, the link to his profile will be in the show notes. Along with the link to Millcraft, if you didn't have a chance to write that down. So as soon as you finish listening to this podcast, go to the show notes, click on the link, connect with Matt. And I know you'll be very happy that you've done so, because I'm very happy that I have done so.
Same, Wendy. Thank you.
Yeah. So to our audience, you've been listening to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, with my very special guest, Matthew Freed. He is the Regional Sales Manager at Millcraft. And if you found value in listening to today's podcast, then please think about one business leader, one entrepreneur, one sales leader, somebody that that you think might also find value in listening to this podcast, and please do share the link with them. And until we meet again, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, really big bills.
You've been listening to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. Be sure to follow so that you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, please leave a rating and review, and be sure to share it with your friends. Tune in every week for more exciting insights and wisdom on transforming sales. And until next time, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, very large bills.